Hello and welcome. You are watching News 9 Live. I am Krishna Kumar, and at this hour we are discussing the big news development in the United States of America, where Donald Trump has become the first president in the history of the United States of America to be indicted for criminal charges. That's right, a grand jury has indicted him in the case involving his hush money payments to porn star Stormy Daniels. And in that case, Trump will have to turn himself in on Tuesday next week. And for now, this is going to have huge ramifications within the political spectrum of America, within the Republican Party, and more importantly, when it comes to the upcoming presidential elections in the United States of America. We are going to be discussing the ramifications, the repercussions of this historic development. But before that, here's a quick look at what exactly has transpired.
A grand jury in New York voted to indict former President Donald Trump, two sources said on Thursday, making him the first ex-president to face criminal charges in U.S. history. The indictment, arising from an investigation into hush money paid to porn star Stormy Daniels, could reshape the 2024 presidential race. The specific charges related to the probe, led by Democratic Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, are not yet known. The New York Times reported that the indictment will likely be announced in the coming days. A lawyer representing Trump said she was informed of the indictment, but did not know when he would surrender. Bragg's office did not immediately respond to requests for comment.
We're witnessing American history. Never has a former president been indicted or charged with the crime, and that's what we're seeing here.
Nima Rahmani is a former federal prosecutor and the president of West Coast Trial Lawyers.
Trump will be given the opportunity to appear in court. He's not going to be arrested. Now, he will be booked, which means he'll be fingerprinted. He'll have his mugshot taken. His attorneys, of course, will plead not guilty for him. I don't expect there to be any pre-trial resolution in this case, and we're going to see the most politically charged trial in American history.
The grand jury began hearing evidence in January about Trump's role in the hush money payment to Daniels days before the 2016 presidential election that he ended up winning. Daniels, an adult film actress whose real name is Stephanie Clifford, has said she received the money in exchange for keeping silent about a sexual encounter she had with Trump in 2006. The former president's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, has said Trump directed hush money payments to Daniels. Trump has denied having an affair with her. Federal prosecutors examined the Daniels payoff in 2018, leading to a prison sentence for Cohen, but no charges against Trump. No former sitting U.S. president has ever faced criminal charges. Trump also faces criminal investigations led by a special counsel appointed by the U.S. Attorney General over his handling of classified government documents after leaving office and his efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election. He also faces an investigation led by a local prosecutor in Georgia into whether he unlawfully tried to overturn his 2020 election defeat in that state. Trump previously said he would continue campaigning for the Republican Party's nomination in the presidential race if he was charged with a crime.
And now we have Pramit Pal Chaudhary, senior journalist of Foreign Affairs, joining us live on this broadcast to understand all that needs to be understood about this big development in the U.S. Pramit, thank you so much for being with us. The first thing I want to ask you is this. This is huge in the context of the upcoming presidential elections. Donald Trump is a candidate in that elections, and it's for now, how much of an impact will it have on his run for the elections? And how do you think, do you think the support will move away from him to Ron DeSantis within the Republican Party?
It's hard to tell right now, but I think the core, roughly 1/3 of the Republican Party base that has always supported Trump and has argued that the accusations against him are in fact a giant conspiracy, will not be affected. They will continue to support Trump. The problem that will arise for him is that in the primary competition, where he has to fight state by state against DeSantis and other candidates, he will find that about maybe half to 2/3 of the Republicans will probably look for another candidate. He will also face another problem, is that fundraising will be difficult. People will be reluctant to give him money, especially big donors, if he has a criminal case. He's actually convicted of a criminal case. But keep in mind, he will fight this case, and given how slowly such cases like this will take place, there may be no conviction even at the time of the elections next year.
God bless you all.
Right.
Thank
The
you
one
very
thing I want to ask you, Pramit Pal Chaudhary, is this. Obviously, Trump has called this a witch hunt, as he's always called it. He's called it political persecution, etc., etc. But this time around, you've seen the likes of Mike Pence, the former vice president, who actually had a fallout with him over the 2020 election results, also coming in support of him, in a sense, subtly voicing support. They are outraged by the decision. For the criminal charges against him, for him to be indicted for them. And you've seen other people, even Ron DeSantis, for that matter. All the Republicans have expressed outrage over this. So how do you view that?
So look, if you're a Republican candidate or want to be a candidate in the next primary, what your biggest fear, especially if you're DeSantis, who is a front runner, is that Trump walks out of the party and declares that he will run as an independent and takes away 1/3 of your vote share, at which point the Democrats will win hands down. So a lot of candidates, whether it's Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, and so on, are really looking to get the blessing of Trump. I think their calculation is Trump will lose. He will not be able to win the primaries. But before he leaves, he will tell his supporters, "I hereby endorse candidate X." Seeking that endorsement is absolutely essential to a winning candidate because, as I said, he's still very popular with the base of the Republican Party. So therefore, getting that endorsement means that you have to support him, at least until a conviction actually comes out. Indictment is just the first step in a long legal process. So it's perfectly understandable, I would say, for the Republican candidates to say that we support this and we see this as a political legal case until the actual conviction takes place.
Pramit, this makes Donald Trump the first American president to face criminal charges in the history of the country. What do you think? How do you think the Democrats will view this, and how do you think they will take things forward from here on?
Oh, they Democrats who couldn't be happier. And the fact that this is coming out of New York, which is obviously a Democrat state, plus, as was mentioned earlier, there are 2 or 3 other cases against him, a defamation case, a criminal conduct case regarding national secrets, and the question of supporting, insurrection. 3 or 4 other cases are pending. And so when they all come in one by one, for the Democrats, this is perfect. If their belief is that there is a center vote in America, it's shrinking, but it exists. This center vote, their hope, will defect effectively to them on the grounds that the Republicans cannot be seen as a viable party as long as they're willing to support or have a candidate who faces or has been convicted of criminal charges.
Right. Pramit, also, let's just take this back to the case of Stormy Daniels. This is about a sexual encounter that took place in 2006, and the hush money payments that were made in 2016, 10 years later, when Trump was running for president by his lawyer. And the entire case is not about any of these things, because the hush money is not illegal. None of this is illegal. What is illegal is where did the funds come from when Trump paid his legal bills to his lawyer Cohen, and then and it's essentially that. And the last time around when this controversy broke out, it didn't affect Trump's chances of becoming a president. How do you think it will play out now, considering the fact that Stormy Daniels has also released her autobiography, which is in 2018, before this?
Well, if you read Stormy Daniels' autobiography, she actually has several pages on her encounter with Trump, including very graphically her sexual encounters with him. So this was not a surprise, but at that point, it was just her word against his. There was no other evidence other than what she had written in the autobiography. And that was obviously insufficient to matter. That's why the indictment is important. And as you said, the real issue is not that he had an affair, not that he paid her, but that he lied about the purpose of the money that he was giving to Cohen to pass on to Stormy Daniels. That's financial fraud. Basically illegally writing the wrong thing on your tax. It's like writing a false statement on your tax forms, and that's what basically he's been caught on.
Right. From an American perspective, clearly the fact that a presidential candidate had an affair with a porn star and used hush money payments, none of this affected the final outcome. In that sense, how much of public perception change will happen after this indictment, as far as Trump is concerned, with the people of America?
It's a good question. I would argue that the polarization that exists in the United States, and in particular, the sense of anger among white working class against what they see as an elite in Washington or New York that betrayed them in terms of economics and economic issues and so on, means that he will probably continue to maintain a certain degree of support. Now, when he lost last year, what broke him was the defection of a large number of conservative Republican white males who didn't like the Democrats, but couldn't stand Trump. They felt that Trump was exactly the kind of unethical, immoral person that they, as conservative Christian Republicans, found very difficult to stomach. With a criminal indictment, an affair with a porn star, this group, I think, would find it even harder to support him in the coming election. So that's why I don't see him being able to win the primary if there is a conviction. But as I said, his lawyers, his entire history, his own life has been about fighting legal battles with everybody. And he has good lawyers. So my sense will be that a conviction will not happen in time for the primaries of next year.
Right, as far as Stormy Daniels per se is concerned, how do you see public perception of her changing after this?
That I'm not certain. I mean, she'll presumably, she's an aging porn star. I don't think she gets that much revenue from that anymore. So my guess is that she'll now become a bit of a public persona, charge, as Americans often do if they become celebrities of any variety, college speaking fees. And maybe write another book about her present experiences. So I would presume that she'll do a little better financially out of this, but for a very different reason than from her previous career.
Going forward, Pramit, tell us, on Tuesday is supposed to be arraigned. Trump is set to be arraigned. His mugshot will be taken on come Tuesday. Tell us in terms of how things will progress, step by step from here on after this indictment.
Well, he will be, yes. His mugshot will be taken, and he will be fingerprinted. But then he'll be released on bail. His lawyers have already, I'm sure, filed in preparation for that. And then he'll be released. I mean, his case is ultimately, it's criminal, but it's not a violent crime or anything. It's just a financial fraud issue. So then he will be allowed to roam as he will. My sense is he will begin campaigning. He will be trying to use this, convert this into a political advantage for himself, that they're coming after me. I'm being persecuted by the elites in New York and Washington, blah, blah. Do you really believe this case? So in many ways, he won't actually change, it won't change very much what he's outwardly doing. But there will be that shadow that every now and then he'll have to go in and testify or be asked to speak before the court or talk to his lawyers all the time. And with this possibility of a conviction, and other cases, as I mentioned, 3 other cases pending.
I was about to ask you, Pramit, as I was listening to you, how much of this do you think will have an impact on the other cases that Donald Trump is fighting?
Not really too much, because these are very different cases. They're completely different. In fact, in most cases, it's actually a different government agency. This is New York State prosecutors, the other are federal prosecutors. In America, there's a very clear distinction between state, federal, and different agencies. So this won't affect it. Given that these cases are so completely different from each other, you will not see a judge say, I'm going to ask that all the cases be merged together, because in this case, they are not related to each other.
Right. One more thing I wanted to ask you is that the Republicans, be it Ron DeSantis and many others, including Trump himself, have been talking about how this particular indictment came because of funding from George Soros. And, is the Soros-funded Manhattan court is what they've been going on and on about.
Soros, the Open Society Foundation, and George Soros has become part of the right-wing conspiracy theory against Trump. And while they may fund various NGOs and so on, they can't fund an indictment. That an indictment is handled by this New York State Prosecutor's Office.
No,
So
the
there's
charge
no
is that
question,
they've
being
paid
involved.
off the person they've paid off the prosecutor.
They paid off the prosecutor. I don't think that's legally possible. If they can prove that, Trump could actually destroy the case.
All right, fair enough. If they can prove that, then the case can be destroyed. But for now, it isn't. Pramit Pal Chaudhary, thank you so much for joining us at this hour here on News 9 Live and helping us understand all that's going on with Donald Trump in the U.S., the first president in the history of the United States of America to face criminal charges. And with that, we've completely run out of time here on this particular News 9 Live. Thank you so much for watching. This is Krishna Kumar signing off for now. Keep it with News 9.